Hello and welcome to a Voices of the Vic podcast with me, Ben Aiton. I'm normally joined by Mike Duffy, and I was so close to being joined by Mike Duffy until about an hour and 45 minutes ago. As the day's gone on, Mike's been updating me, saying that he hasn't been feeling very well. He's got the typical man flu. We all know how it all works. And as the day's gone on, he sent me a few voice notes, and he's gradually got worse, and it just sounds terrible. And by 6:15, he announced that he wasn't going to be well enough for tonight. So, Mike, we wish you all the best, and hopefully you feel better for Christmas, because I know you're worried about it, because last year you was actually struck down by COVID and you had to self-isolate in your bedroom and couldn't spend it with your family. So hopefully it's nothing serious like that, and you're on the road of recovery soon. So send you all the good wishes from us here, mate. But I am joined by two gentlemen who have saved the day. They've saved Christmas. It is Mr. Tom Wicks from the Golden Pages and Mr. Pidge from the TaylorMade Army TV. Boys, thank you so much for helping me out tonight and saving Christmas. Tom, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I'll be playing the role of the Leandro Bacuna for tonight, I think. Brought in late and not expecting to get a starting lineup. So yeah, if I can perform as well as he did at the weekend, I'll be pleased.
I'm sure you'll be pushing for a start soon anyway, Tom. And Pidge, thank you for coming on as well. Everything all good with you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. No, thank you for having me on, like Tom said, and yeah, I'm pleased to be on your pod again, mate. It's a great honour to go on this, mate.
No worries. I'm glad to have you both on, and sorry we've thrown you under the bus as well, because me and Mike we've asked the followers and listeners for some topics, and we've had some off George White, Mikey Abraham, suggesting what they want us to include into the night. So you've had not much time to prepare for this. I've tried to help you out as much as I can. So we will be covering some topics that you've suggested. George White has suggested that he wanted us to do Watford's 5 worst transfers under the Pozzos. Mikey Abraham went back with he wants the 5 best Pozzo signings. So we've covered them both tonight, and then with typical Voices of the Vic tradition, we've stuck with our categories. So in our categories tonight, we've done Young Player of 2022, Unsung Player of 2022, Manager of the Year. Obviously, Watford, we don't have one manager in a season, so we're throwing it in. We've had 4 managers in this calendar year. Signing of the year, Goal of the year, Team Performance of the Year, and Worst Performance of the Year. I'll throw in a few Christmas related questions as well to keep the boys on their toes as well, because it is a Christmas podcast as you're all joining us and watching. We've already had our first comment. Merry Christmas, fellow Watford fans, from Martin Fletcher. Cheers for watching tonight, Martin. Hope you're all good and hope you have a good Christmas. Let's jump straight into it. So maybe a first Christmas related question. I'll come to you, Tom. Advent calendar this year?
Cool. I'm not even. No, I mean, I'm doing my own Golden Pages Advent calendar, I guess, on social media, but I think there's enough chocolate flying around in my house, to be honest. There's Yule logs, there's lint bunnies, and yeah, I don't need any more. Maybe I should have got one of the beer Advent calendars. Fancied that. Maybe next year.
I tell you a man who I reckon has got a beer Advent calendar, and it's probably Mr. Mike Duffy. But Pidge, you got an Advent calendar? I imagine your daughter's got one.
Oh, the kids have definitely got one. I've got one as well. I was going to have the Malteser one, and then my youngest daughter didn't like Kinder, so I got the Kinder one. So that finished pretty quickly, because it's either Biscoff for me or Kinders, which is my vices. So it's terrible, mate.
I do love the Malteser. What was it? The little truffles that they brought out at Christmas a couple of years back, and then they've done the white chocolate ones as well. Mate, I put on so much weight over Christmas just eating over. But yeah, Watford related news today, actually, boys, as well. I don't know if you saw it. You probably did see it. Watford confirmed the appointment of Ben Manga as the new technical director. He spent 6.5 seasons with reigning Europa League champions Eintracht Frankfurt, and Manga boasts an impressive background in recruitment, most recently serving as director of professional football at Frankfurt. The 48-year-old has also operated as chief scouts for Frankfurt, having spent successful periods as fellow Bundesliga sides Hoffenheim and Stuttgart prior to joining to Frankfurt. He's also joined by Helena Costa, who will be joining as head of scouting, while further appointments will be announced shortly. Manga and his staff have begun work at London Colney's training ground at the start of the week. We knew this was coming, Tom, but it's good to get it finally confirmed, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the club are usually a bit, I wouldn't go so far as to say secretive, but they don't like announcing sort of internal changes. But from what I've read about this new fella, I mean, he's done. Sounds as though it's a real coup for us. He led an Eintracht Frankfurt, was part of the recruitment staff of the Eintracht Frankfurt side that won the Europa League final. I think was it last year, I believe. And you look at some of the players that he's brought in, fantastic. And Eintracht Frankfurt on a European heavyweight by any means. So my only hesitancy, I guess, with this in my excitement is the Pozzo regime. We don't tend to. Pozzo doesn't really tend to let people do their own thing, from what we've heard, and does tend to get involved perhaps a little bit too much. I think if Ben Manga has the opportunity to do his own thing and do what's worked well for him at Frankfurt, then yeah, we've got a hell of an asset there. And I don't know too much about Costa, but I believe that she was in his recruitment sides that at Frankfurt. So yeah, obviously it's a massive bonus for us. I think Gioretta moves to a different role. It's just going to be interesting to see how it marries up with the Pozzo network, because as we'll come on to later, as you said about the best and worst signings, we've had some absolute stinkers as well as some brilliant players. So hopefully we can have more good players and cement us in the Premier League.
Let's hope so. Pidge, you've done a fist pump when Tom Wicks has just mentioned Gioretta. You pleased that he's actually been pushed to the side? He's a bit closer to that door now, isn't he? You seem a happy man.
I'm absolutely delighted, mate, because I think Manga as well. It's a double celebration for me. I'm glad Giorgetta's moved across, but Manga's absolutely brilliant. I watch as much as I can. I watch a lot of Bundesliga, and he's well sought after in German football, especially what Tom's alluded to, what his progress he's done with Eintracht Frankfurt as well. And yeah, getting someone alongside him in his former staff as well is going to help him. But he likes to build up that relationship with the head coach. Firstly, the trust has got to be there with the chief scout and the head coach, because obviously he plays a certain system. He wants certain players to fit his system, and if they work, the cohesion is there between Bilic and Manga, then yeah, we've got a winning formula. And like I say, what he's done at Frankfurt is evident for all to see. They're not a big gun in German football. There are people's mates say sleeping giant, but they're not really, to be honest. They weren't exactly like Dortmund were in the second division and brought themselves up under Klopp, but he's brought them up to be a major player in the Bundesliga. And with the signings he's done, they were sensible signings. They didn't cost the earth, and he tries to unearth these gems. And I think he's a German, well, in terms of German football, he's the German football version of Walsh at Leicester. Yeah,
it definitely is. James from Watford Ways also popped out and said, "Merry Christmas. Thanks for watching tonight, James." I'm really pleased that Giorgetta's actually been pushed to the side. And like you say, he's very highly rated. And I think there might be a few eyebrows raised by fellow English supporting fans over here thinking, why haven't my club gone for someone like Ben Manga? So it's a massive coup from Watford Football Club. But yeah, let's jump straight into the categories. Tom, I'll come to you first. Who would be your young player of 2022? I don't think we have many players that maybe fit into this? I did say 22 years of age and maybe younger, but if you want to go slightly a bit older just to find someone, then you're more than welcome to.
I think there's only one man that's got this, João Pedro. He's 21, so he's within the age thing. I think we're genuinely lucky to have him play at our club. He's just got everything. He's such a joy to watch, and he's effective this season. I wrote in the start of the first Golden Pages of the season how it was a massive season for him. His trajectory could either go up or down, and he's just absolutely skyrocketing. And hopefully he can guide us towards promotion. I mean, looking at alternatives, I mean, Yasser Esprit is an exciting prospect. I don't think he's Young Player of the Year material at the moment, but he's the next one to take the well-trodden path from Fluminense to Watford. So that they're my two. I think, João Pedro's absolute standout. I think he's the Player of the Year, let alone the Young Player of the Year.
Definitely, he's been incredible this year. The goals that he's actually added to his game as well has just been what we've cried out for. We've seen what he's brought to the team, and it's like, if you could just add goals to the game, Jesus, you're some player, and he's done it this season. Mike, Pidge, would you tend to agree with Tom, or have you got a slightly different choice?
No. In terms of not the safe bet, but I completely agree with him. Pedro's obviously going to be the one that you put at number one, but we've got some very good young players coming through the under 21s and under 18s that will be certainly up there in our thinking, certainly next season. It's just a shame that Hungbo hasn't really burst on the scene this season, which I really would have hoped he would have done. But 100% Pedro. He's been absolutely revolutionary, and like that, I'll take a quote for Danny Iron. I'll be very surprised if him and Martins are not playing for Brazil in 4 years' time at the World Cup.
Yeah, they've got some youth system, haven't they, over in Brazil? Like the amount of players they produce, and that like under 18s, under 20s team they've got at the moment is absolutely incredible. Did you see the guy that they've recently just joined Real Madrid for about 60-odd million pounds as well? Same age as Martins. It's crazy, but we've got a good connection to Brazil and Fluminense, so just keep them coming. Tom, next one, it's going to be Unsung Player of the Year. So probably a player that don't really get too much plaudits or not much praise. Who have you gone for?
I had a real think about this one. My initial thought was Chowdhury, but then I thought, well, he's coming in on loan from a Premier League club. I think we had a right to expect a certain level from him. I know he's a bit Marmite. Some people love him, some people hate him. I think he's been fantastic for us this year. But the one that stood out for me as the Unsung Player of the Year is Bachmann. I think he's still got problems, I think, commanding his box. But, I mean, the fact that he's kept a £5 million goalkeeper on the bench, he's never really spoken about, but it looks as, well, the games that I've seen, he just steps up every time. You don't see many mistakes from him, and that's almost like a referee. That's all, one of the best things you can say about a goalkeeper. If you don't notice them, then they're doing a great job. And I've not really been one of Daniel Bachmann's greatest fans over the years, but I think he's been certainly fits that category for me.
Yeah, it's 10 clean sheets this season for Daniel Bachmann as well so far. Doing a good job. Obviously, it was difficult for him last season watching Ben Foster have that number one jersey when Ben Foster's performances weren't really up to scratch, and you're like, mate, Bachmann probably deserves an opportunity over him, and he wasn't given it. So it's good to see that Bachmann has kicked on as well. And I know we're talking about it slightly later on, but when we was looking into signings of the best signings for the Pozzos, I didn't put him in my top 5, but I popped him in my top 15 when I had to narrow it down. You got to remember, we got him on a free transfer from Stoke City, and he's really kicked on. He was from their academy. We've sent him out on loan to Kilmarnock. Fantastic there. Got him into the Europa League. Came back for Watford. Helped us get promoted. It was a bit iffy in a Premier League, but I think the Championship's his standard, isn't it, Tom? He seems like he's found his level.
Yeah, I think, as you said, the path for a goalkeeper is different to an outfield player, and I think he's one of the few that have been nurtured, and he's got a chance now in this Watford side. He had a good last Championship season, as you said, disappointing Premier League appearances, and he really kicks. I really hope that if we do go up, touch wood, cross fingers, etc., that he gets a chance in the Premier League, because I think he deserves it from his displays this season, and it's one of the hardest things, one of the hardest positions, goalkeeper, to just come off of the bench, because you'll be sat there throughout the season, and you're the one replacement, and you're expected not to make any mistakes. He definitely gets my plaudits, and I hope he continues in the same vein, because I think he's been a real asset to us this season.
Seems like a good person to have in and around the team as well. I've seen that he went to the Watford hospital the other day as well to see all the children there giving out presents, and then he featured in a video for Manscaped today as well, and just seems like a good character to have in and around the dressing room. So that's Tom's unsung player of 2022, Daniel Batman. Pidge, who have you gone for?
I've gone for Ken Sema. I think he hasn't got that real X factor that you need in the Premier League to really set anyone alight. But in terms of his work rate, he's excellent. I absolutely love the guy for just pure passion, and he'll play multiple positions as well. Backman is definitely up there, 110%. If it wasn't Sema, I would have gone for Backman. But yeah, Sema, I'm really, really impressed with him. Like I say, he's in the Premier League, you won't do much in terms of turn to meds, but if you want a steady Eddie that's going to give you 110% work rate and set an example for many of the players, then you go for Sema every time.
Yeah, same again. Another Championship player who I think he's probably like a 7 out of 10 each game. You know what you're getting from Ken Sema. He hasn't really got the pace, but he's got the strength and trickery to get round you. And his stats this season are pretty good, considering he's only played 23 games. He's got 2 goals and 6 assists. He was unlucky not to get a third goal, but Raymond and I got a stud on it away at Birmingham City. But yeah, Mr. Consistent, I put Ken Sema down to. Great selection for an unsung hero. And it's good to see that you've both gone for different people as well. This is what we love about having podcasts and that. It's different opinions. I really struggled thinking about this as well, because I would have initially gone for someone like Craig Cathcart, but then I'm like, he does get praised, and we do talk about him quite a lot, saying about how important he is to the side. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I haven't got one. I'm going to probably make a decision out of Pidge and Tom's, and I'll probably go for maybe, I don't know. Oh, it's so tough. I'm going to go for Ken Sema. Only because I think he does a lot of work offensively and defensively on that side. He's playing over on the right hand side as well, playing out of position. He's fielding at left back. He was outstanding left back away at Cardiff City this season when Kamara had that suspension. I'll probably go for Ken Sema for that one. But it's tight. Batman's been fantastic for us in the last calendar year as well. Tom, easy one. Manager of the year. 4 managers have been in that dugout at Vicarage Road this season. We've obviously had Claudio Ranieri, then Roy Hodgson. He passed the baton over to Rob Edwards. Rob Edwards didn't stay long. He's passed it over to Slaven Bilic. Who would be your Watford manager of the year?
I mean, it's a little bit sad that we've got, this is a category in itself, isn't it? I think that goes to show what a mad pot club we are, that we follow. It's
what a fun club to support.
fun. That's probably a better word for it. I think you've got to go with Bilic, haven't you? I would have said Rob Edwards, but I don't think he can come back from his decision to move up the road. It can only be Bilic, can't it? I think he's the only one that hasn't had a sustained bad run, and obviously he's still here at the time of recording, of course. But I think for the Luton game alone, that game brought me so much pleasure. There's been highs and lows, and it seems as though there's a bit more of a team spirit, and it seems as though we're going somewhere. It's not just a stopgap. I mean, that might be very naive of me to think that, but it's only him, and Yeah, long may it continue as well. I hope he does. He does get a fair crack of the whip and is here till the end of the season, come what may.
I hope so. He's had a fantastic start to his career at Watford. I know he's had a couple of iffy results, but he picked up a side that had a lot of injuries. I know Rob Edwards had injuries as well, but he's equally been hit by it, and he's managed to get a tune out with players and sorted out our defence. 4 consecutive clean sheets in the Championship, which is the first time since 2001, which is great to see. We've always had a bit of a leaky defence. Pidge, who would you go for your manager of the year? Would it be similar? Would it be Mr. Slaven Bilic as well?
Got to be Roy, isn't it?
Yeah, 100% Roy Hodgson, hands down. No, but yeah, look, you can't go for anyone else. It's a bit, like you said, it's a bit sad we've actually got this category in here because, like most people say, manager of the month at our club is an appointment, not an award. Which you can't get annoyed at. You got to laugh at it, you know. But yeah, just like Tom said, I have to agree with Tom again that, you know, Bilic should be knighted after that game, that 4-0 game. I tell you, it's been the New Year's honours list for beating them because, you know, the only other time we smashed them 4-0 was when God was in charge. So 25 years apart to the month as well. So not a bad 25-year celebration, was it?
It wasn't a bad result against Luton as well, considering we lost to Millwall 3-0 about 3-4 days beforehand. I think Watford fans going into that game were not confident, and that's rare going into a derby game. At home, you'd fancy yourself, you'd think you'd be up for it. We really worried about that. We was like, I honestly thought we was going to get battered. Luton was on a good run of form. I think they won 4 or 5 games in a row, but was unbeaten. How on earth he turned it around? He must have gave him one hell of a kicking at full time. But then again, Craig Cackcalf were back. He wasn't involved in the Millwall game. Missed as consistent, came back, was in the centre of the defence. Watford end up winning 4-0. I'm putting it all down to Craig Cackcalf. Signing of the year, Tom.
I think this one I might differ from Pidge, but my signing of the year is João Pedro. I know he's technically not joined us, but he signed a new contract after his interest with Newcastle, and I think that's the best bit of business we'll do probably for the next 2 or 3 years. To be honest, I think from a business perspective is the financial benefits of that going to absolutely skyrocket. And I mean, I'm a real fanboy of João Pedro at the moment. It's a little bordering on embarrassing, to be honest, but it's got to be it. It's got to be him for me. I'd say perhaps a sort of shout out to Chowdhury again. I really like him. I hope that he stays, whatever division we're in. Similarly, I like Davis, but I think he needs to have a good prolonged season to disprove a few of the doubters about his injury records. But yeah, I think it's got to be João Pedro for me. Sorry to mess with the category a little bit.
No, I like it. What you've done is you found a loophole. Like Watford normally find a loophole, don't they? When they find all these loan signings. First time when the Pozzos took over, we brought in about 11 different loan signings. So I like it. You've kept with Watford theme. And yeah, it feels in itself a signing, isn't it? Just to secure him for an extra few months to January. I imagine he'll stay in January and play the full season. But yeah, I'm a massive fanboy like you of João Pedro. I'm going to decorate my whole bedroom if he stays at the end of the season with just João Pedro wallpaper everywhere. I drive my missus nuts, but I don't care. I love it.
We have to hold you to that, Ben. We want pictures at the end of the season.
I'm going to end up doing my room like Pidge's at the moment, but instead it's just going to be João Pedro's face everywhere.
You have to wear a mask for the games as well, mate.
It's probably a good thing if I wear a mask, to be honest, mate. But yeah, who's your signing of the year?
It's good. Yeah, the business side, I see where Tom's coming from, but in terms of signing, Chowdhury for me. I know he gets a bit of stick sometimes, which everyone's entitled to their opinion. There is some times where you sort of infuriate with him, but I think he's been our best signing so far. I know we've got ones coming up which will probably change my opinion, but Chowdhury as a player, yeah, I think he does a lot of unsung work that a lot of people, including myself, won't notice a lot of time in the game. So, yeah, definitely Chowdhury for me.
Yeah, no, good choice. I was saying to Mike last week or the week before, he was getting a lot of stick, and I don't think you realise how much he actually does for the team until he's actually gone. The moment he was taken out of that side against Hull, there was a massive hole there, and he had the most interceptions in the championship leading up to that game as well. It's probably changed now because of the injuries that he's done, but he just shows that he's just vital to his Watford team, and hopefully he's back soon. I know it was 5-6 weeks Bilic just said that he was possibly out for, so maybe towards the end of January he might be starting to look to training with the first team again, and it'd be good timing if he is coming back round that time as well, like end of Jan, February, because that's when in-round losers being maybe talked about possibly returning as well. So hopefully that'll be like another extra like transfer window of signings coming in, just players coming back through the door. So yeah, great shout with Hamza Chowdhury.
Do you know as well with Chowdhury? I think just to sort of build on that he has a few detractors. I think his biggest problem is who he plays with. I think when we've seen Loser play alongside him, we've seen it tick along so well in the middle. I don't like him and Kayembe in the middle. I don't think it works for me because they're quite similar players, but I think Kayembe's a bit of a downgrade on Chowdhury, to be honest. He just looks class, looks different level, and I think this is a name that might pop up elsewhere in this pod. But he reminds me of Valon Barami so much, and I absolutely loved him.
Oh, yeah. I love Barami. I really loved him. I thought he was a brilliant player for us.
Great workhorse, wasn't he? He just gave 110% in every game. You know what he was going to get, and considering his age as well, when he signed for Watford, he looked very energetic. He didn't stop running. He chased everything down.
100%.
But yeah, goal of the year now, Tom. We've scored a fair few goals in the last 2022. What have you gone for as your favourite?
I struggled. There was 3 that I had. So again, I'm going to be looking for that loophole and probably going to get the equivalent of a points deduction for this. But I'm going to go for 3. I'm going to go for Davis's goal in the 3rd minute against Luton. I thought the build-up play for that was excellent, and there was a real intelligence with Sarr dragging the defender out, waiting for Kamara, who crossed the ball in, and Davis's dexterity to get on that with that acrobatic finish. So that's going to be one of them. I couldn't decide the order. Number 2 for me was Cucho's acrobatic strike against Arsenal, quite similar to Davis's goal, I think. Good build-up on the right. I think it was Sissoko and I think Dennis, who occupied a few defenders, bought time for Kiko on the overlap to whip a cross in, and what a finish that was. That was beautiful. And then I think, you can't really forget about Sarr's goal against West Brom. That's going to be goal of the season. As soon as that went in, that's going to be the championship goal of the season. So sorry that it's 3, but I couldn't whittle it down really. Great for different reasons, I think those.
We'll keep it as a 3. They've all been great to hear again, and yeah, Keenan Davis scoring against Luton in the 3rd minute, fantastic start. Derby games don't get any better than starting a game like that after 3 minutes, and what a fantastic finish. The ball was behind him. How on earth he managed to get on the end of that and put it past the keeper, I have no idea, but Vicarage Road went crazy, and that was the best atmosphere I think I've ever heard inside Vicarage Road. Pidge, what was your favourite goal of the year?
No, there's only one for me. It was Davis against the Scum. That was my one. In terms of the class, yeah, the Cucho and the Sarr one would beat him. But in terms of the overall build-up, and I actually loved the one that Pedro scored in the first game of the season against Sheffield United, the way we counter-attacked and played that ball as well. That being, if I had a top 5, that'd be like 4th in the list. So, but yeah, I'm going for Davis against them.
Yeah, I don't think you can look any further than Davis. It's the importance of the goal, especially like we said, coming into the game after a 3-0 defeat away to Millwall, live on Sky Sports as well. It was just a fantastic way to start, and the way he changed his body to get on the end of it. The ball was behind him, and it was just great, and we just steamrolled him after that. Derby days don't get any better than that. Tom, I think I know this one. I'm pretty sure. Team performance of the year. I think we've spoken about a game quite a lot already in this podcast, and we're only half an hour in. Am I right in thinking it's maybe the Luton performance?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Pidge. I'm going first. I'm nicking all the good ones, but yeah, I think the Luton one was just unbelievable. Like it was one of those games that you'll remember for years and years and years. Obviously, with it being a derby as well, so you've got the added importance. But yeah, I mean, in the next issue of Golden Pages, we've got a whole section about that Luton game and the one in '97 as well. Just absolutely perfect day on the pitch anyway. And yeah, I've written at length about it. I'm sure Pidge will go on to in more detail. I just want to mention a couple of the other ones that made my list. So the Sheffield United game at home in September that we won 1-0. Pidge mentioned João Pedro's goal there. I thought we looked like a proper outfit then. That was the moment I thought, yeah, we're going to be right up there. I know it was early on in the season, but we put on a really good performance then. And I think that's one of Sheffield United's only defeats so far this season. I think they've had less than a handful. And it's a perfect game plan. But yeah, they're the two for me. Obviously, Luton's a standout one.
Easy one for you as well, Pidge.
Well, I was going to go for the classics like Millwall and Blackburn away for my performances of the season, but I thought the Luton one just swayed it very slightly. So yeah, definitely the scum game. You can't beat it. It's so obvious. It's very hard. You got stuff like the away game. I think it was Southampton away, wasn't it? We won in the Premier League. You got stuff like that, and the Stoke one. But overall performance, yeah, Luton beats it hands down, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah,
and I mean, we absolutely steamrolled them that day as well. It wasn't even close. Like it was, I think everyone had at least a 9 out of 10 performance that day, and it was men against boys. No matter what level of football you're playing at, if you can do that to any team, that's you're going to get a hell of a result, and we did in probably one of the most important games of the year.
What I loved about it as well was Nathan Jones moaning like you knew he was whinging, making excuses. Oh, we had a sickness bug. Truce Econ shithousery when he went over to the player, it just got sent off, like waving at him. It was just brilliant. It was just such a fantastic day, and I'll take it to my grave. Like I've only been to watch Watford play Luton once, and that was back early 2000s. I think it was 1-1. I think Marlon King scored, chipped the goalkeeper.
2006.
Yeah, and then they scored later on in the game, and that's the only game. And I was quite young in that to beat them 4-0 now and waited so long to go to a game like that as well. It was just it's what fans dream of.
Yeah, I went to the 93 one, Roda's first game. We lost 2-1 at their place. The 1-0 in 94 when Phillips flicked it past Kelvin Davis, we should have won that. Obviously the 4-0. 97, which I still think that even beats the one this season. Honestly, it was absolutely amazing away at the Scum. We didn't beat them for 10 years. So imagine waiting 10 years to bloody beat them as well. Oh, unbelievable. Yeah, stuff like in the 97 one, just before that game at home. And it was 1-0. Baisley scored in the last minute, and the whole north stand, when it was the home end, just flew onto the pitch. Pitch evaded. 7 minutes of injury time, we equalised. So yeah, that's how much it means to us.
It really does. I'm going to stick with you now, Pidge, because Tom is taking all the good ones, and I should have maybe mixed it up a little bit. So apologies for that. I'll come worst performance of the year now. Is it going to be those two that you've mentioned that you teased with, saying there was going to be your performances, even though you was maybe tricking us?
Most of the home games we had in the Premier League season would have been Norwich, but that's coming up a year. Yeah, almost. Just missed out the Norwich one. That would have been my one, but yeah, it was hard not to pick one out of those two. And I think I'll go for Millwall. 100%. I think that was awful. Millwall deserved it. They were miles better than us, and like Tom alluded to again, two contrasting games. It was men versus boys in that game as well.
Yeah, it was embarrassing watching that performance. Tom, what's your one?
I'm still smiling from discussing the Luton game. Just yeah. Well, right. I'll change the tone. Right, worst performance. I think Millwall is right up there. The one that sprung to mind was Leicester beating us 5-1 at home towards the end of last season. Looked like everyone had given up all hope and were just desperate to get away. Get away on the beach and forget about it. I think similarly with Leeds as well. I think that was one of the first. The 1-0 defeat was one of the first, or 1 or 2-0. That was one of the first signs that the team looked as though they'd called it in for me, and there wasn't any coming back. I think probably that one. Again, Millwall, that was just utter dreadful. But I think that was more of a game plan issue for me. And a shout out to the whole game of a couple of weeks ago as well. The 0-0. That was one of my worst experiences in the last couple of years. And bearing in mind the relegation season, I mean, everything about that day was just awful. The weather was horrible. There was no atmosphere in the crowds. Everyone in the crowd didn't want to be there, let alone the players. And I think it just goes to show how bad Hull were that they didn't beat us, to be honest. I think that the Leicester we'll go with the Leicester 5-1 at home.
Talking about that whole game very quickly, have you got your feelings back in your fingers yet? Because you were outside selling the Golden Pages.
Do you know what? I prepared for it. I prepared for the I bought a massive coat. I had the hand warmer gel things that activate it out the packet. But yeah, I still couldn't. Still took me a few hours after the game to get any sort of feeling back. And thankfully, a few people bought a copy of the issue to make it worthwhile.
Good. They kept you warm by keeping you busy. That's what I want to hear. Perfect. So that's all our categories done. So we'll go on to the 5 best transfers under the Pozzos and the 5 worst as well. Just quickly, though, Pidge, are you a fan of Brussels sprouts?
I'll have them if it's Christmas. It's a bit like the bottom thing. He goes, Brussels sprouts, why are we having them? Because it's Christmas. It's basically that's the only reason I have them.
That's the same as me. I only have one as well because it's tradition, and your mum's like nags you, and it's like just have a Brussels sprout. So I don't want a Brussels sprout. Have a Brussels sprout. All right, I'll fucking have a Brussels sprout. They're grim, aren't they? Tom, what about you?
I'm fine with Brussels sprouts. Yeah. Again, it's probably not something that I'd have throughout the year, but they'll do me.
All right, fair enough. And Pidge, what's your favourite or least favourite Christmas song?
Christmas what?
Favourite Christmas song or least favourite?
Oh god, it's that bloody Mariah Carey one.
As your favourite?
No, that's my least favourite, mate. Jesus. I'd rather watch a side coached by Colin Lee, mate, than listen to that. Jesus.
Tell you what, she's done a good job out of it. She's never got to work again, does she? She makes her money with it coming out every year.
Yeah.
What about you, Tom? What's your favourite or least favourite Christmas song?
Do you know what? I hate Christmas songs. I can't stand it. I used to work in a supermarket back in the day, and I did a lot of overtime during Christmas, and they just pumped it through the sound system. So I can't really listen to them anymore. I'd probably say the Rage Against the Machine song that won Christmas #1 a few years ago is probably my pick. I'm not sure you can count that as a Christmas song. My worst is the Slade one. I think I just want to just throw my head down the toilet. I think when I hear that, it's horrible. Sorry, that sounds really grinchy of me, but sorry. What about you, Ben?
Probably anything done by Lad Baby. Any sausage roll related Christmas song, it's not for me. As much as they're doing these songs for charity and that, which is fantastic and helping out people that can't afford to put food on the table, I just don't want a Christmas related sausage roll song. I want the traditional song. I'm just maybe a bit picky. I maybe just getting old. But yeah, we'll jump into this 5 best Watford transfers under the Pozzos. I'll come to you first, Pidge. Maybe just give me one, and then give me all 5 of yours, and then we'll go to Tom for 5, and then we'll do my 5. What's your best 5 starting with your top one?
Well, Abdi's the first one. Pozzo's ones. You got Abdi. Capu's one of my favourite players in the Pozzo era. Arguably my favourite one. Cathcart definitely up there, free transfer. God, blimey, it's a really hard one. In terms of profit, it was Richarlison, but not in terms of how well impact he done. Decore be another very good one. In terms of the midfield, they were excellent. I love Gomez, but I'll take Decore out. I'll put Barami and Gomez in there as well as my top 5.
I think you've got 6.
I've got 6.
Even when you take one of them out, I think you've got.
So I've got
Abdi, Cathcart,
Capu, Cathcart, Gomez, and Barami.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. They're very good, and out of all of them, not much money spent, if not many money spent at all. Gomez, free transfer. Barami, free transfer. Capu, I think we spent about 5-6 million on him, which is a fantastic investment considering how much he actually played for Watford week in, week out. Fantastic player, and I don't think Villarreal maybe expected him to be that good. I know they signed him and wanted him to be a certain standard, but I think he expected expectations over there and ended up winning the Europa League, didn't he, with Villarreal? And what a fantastic servant he was for Watford. The old octopus legs. Is that what I called him? Octopus?
Yep.
Yeah. Love that pitch. Tom, what's your 5 best transfers under the Pozzos?
I've gone for ones that have made a real impact at the Vic for footballing reasons. Again, like Pidge, rather than the financial. Some of the players I think are probably the most important ones rather than the best ones. These are the your roast potatoes cooked in goose fat. They're the stable ones, the one that make everything happen in the roast dinner. So I'm going to go for Gerard Deulofeu. Got us to an FA Cup final. Bit of an enigma, but on his day, I think probably the best player that we've had in my generation at Watford on his day. Just the FA Cup semi-final as well. Just absolute magic. Ben Watson, bit of sort of out of the corner, that one. He joined us in January 2015 and made an immediate impact. Remember the Blackpool game at home in which we were 2-0 down at half-time. He came on and we won 7-2. I think he was integral to that promotion season, and he really stabilised us that year. It was exactly what we needed, and I don't think we would have had the success in the Premier League without that season and a bit, to be honest, because he did a bit in the Premier League as well for us. Number 3, Aurelio Gomez. Exactly what Pidge says. Free transfer. One of the best keepers in Watford's history. He was a Spurs outcast when we got him, and he helped. He completely restored his reputation. Had a great link with the fans too. Everyone loves him. The images of him jumping up in the air, celebrating once a goal went in, and he was just a hell of a player. Absolutely superb, like really reliable. He helped lead us to an FA Cup final too. And who can forget his throws as well? He couldn't kick it for Toffee, but his overarm throws were something to behold. Okay, so that's what we're on 3. I'm surprised this one hasn't been mentioned. Odion Ighalo. I believe he might have been on a free as well. I think he came from Granada, who were a Pozzo-owned club at that stage. Absolutely brilliant player for us. Took us to another level in that first season in the Premier League and took us over the line in the Championship. He had a great link up with Troy. A real goal scorer. They're really hard to come by. Considering that he was at Man United's, his dream club right at the end of his career. I think we were very lucky to get him when we did, and that was a hell of a find. So I'm just glad that we saw him. And similar to Aurelio Gomez with his long throws, I'll always remember the Iggy scoop, where he kind of moved his body and shifted the ball around the defender. And no matter how many defenders he would come up against, none of them would expect it. That's one of the things that I loved about him. So that's 4. The 5th is a little bit harder. I've got a few candidates here. I don't know if you can count Troy Deeney. I know he was at the club then, but he was released from prison, and I think he could have left. I think that's probably a bit too much of a loophole, too much for...
he signed a new contract, so he's in, isn't he?
I'll probably go... it's between Barami, Cathcart and Abdi. I think for longevity, free transfer, we'll go Cathcart. Yeah, he's my favourite at the moment. And he's on the last cover of the issue. I got to speak to him as well. Top bloke and a real character as well, from what I hear. So we'll go for those.
Brilliant, fantastic 5 there as well from yourself. Yes, I've done a few as well. I found it so tough to narrow this down for 5 as well, just like the worst ones, which we're going to come to later on, because I was trying to think of maybe the contributions to Watford Football Club, and then also the money that maybe Watford have made out of it. But I've led towards the contribution to Watford Football Club, and then I'll maybe mention a few players that we have had that have been good for Watford after they've left with the money they've actually raised. So my first one's Craig Cathcart, free transfer from Blackpool in that first season under the Pozzos. He signed in 2014-15, his second spell with the club as well, we've got to remember. He was on loan from Manchester United the first time round. He just slotted in straight away, ever present. He's been ever present since. It's been outstanding. If it wasn't for maybe João Pedro this season, if we was fighting for a player of the season, Craig Cathcart would probably be up there for me, because he's just been brilliant. Exactly what we need, especially with our defence. You need someone cool and collective. You need that experience, and Craig Cathcart is that man, and he's wearing that captain armband with pride, and he's delivering as well. My second one would be Aurelio Gomez, like you've touched on as well, Tom. Fantastic servant for the club. Also a club captain as well. I put him down to maybe a bit of a club legend with what he's achieved at Watford, considering like you say, he was an outcast at Spurs. He's completely turned his career around. He was involved in that FA Cup run to the final as well. Got us back into a Premier League. Lovely guy. Great sense of humour. I love Aurelio Gomez, so he's in for me. Etienne Capoue signed him from Spurs for 5-6 million. I think it's a fantastic bit of business. Another outcast from Spurs as well. They spent a lot of money after Gareth Bale went, and Etienne Capoue was one of them. So maybe there was a bit of pressure on him joining Spurs, thinking we've spent all this money, he's got to deliver straight away. And he struggled a little bit, but he came to Watford, found his feet, and was absolutely outstanding. Kiko Femenino would be my fourth one. Free transfer from Alaves over in La Liga. We know that partnership we've seen from him on that right-hand side with Ismail Assar. His deliveries into the box, the assists he's provided. He chipped in with maybe 2-3 goals as well. Kiko, just fantastic player to have in and around the dressing room as well. So he's in for my fourth one. And then my fifth one is no other than João Pedro. By far one of the best talented players I've seen in a Watford shirt. I'm not old enough to have witnessed John Barnes or Luther Blissett, but João Pedro, my God, he's got absolutely everything, and he can go to the very top. I think we paid maybe about £10 million in around that price mark for him from Fluminense, which is a lot of money for an 18-year-old when I think it was a 17-year-old originally, and then he couldn't join us until he was 18. And the amount of money Watford will potentially make from him as well once he goes is unthinkable. So yeah, that would be my top 5. Other players that we could have maybe considered: Emmanuel Dennis from Club Brugge, joined for £3 million. Gerard Deulofeu, which Tom's already mentioned. Richarlison, if we was on about maybe making profits out of sales, Richarlison would be that guy. Signed him for about £10 million, sold him for about 40-50 million pounds to Everton. You can't get any better than that. I marked down Will Hughes as well with a question mark, because what he brought into our side as well. I know when he joined from Derby County, we played him out on the left under Javi Gracia. But in that championship season, I thought he was absolutely fantastic, and he was that glue in the middle of the park. Decore I put down, I thought he was fantastic. Signing from Rennes, he was maybe on the outskirts when he first joined, and then had to work and wait for his opportunity. But once he was in, the box-to-box dynamics that he showed was great, and again made a lot of money out of the sale of Decore. And then I listed Igalo as well, which Tom's already alluded to. So that wraps up the best signings for the Pozzos. Just quickly before we go over to the worst signings and wrap up the pod, Tom, what's your favourite Christmas film?
God, blimey,
Or are you
that's
going to tell me you don't like Christmas
caught me off
films
guard
then?
there. No, I don't mind. I don't mind Christmas films. Oh God, yeah, you caught me off guard a little bit there. What I do, what my wife does, is a bit of a tradition, is that we go through the Harry Potter films in order throughout the Christmas period. Not in a day. I'm not even sure there's enough hours in a day, but yeah, it's just a little tradition that we have. I guess not strictly Christmassy, but yeah, quite like Die Hard though. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, Harry Potter is always in and around Christmas as well, isn't it? They always play it on ITV, and yeah, you can't beat it about Harry Potter. Pidge, your favourite Christmas movie?
I certainly wouldn't put Harry Potter because I'm a Lord of the Rings fan, so I'm one of those. Traditional will be Father Christmas the movie, but for true Christmas spirit, you can't go any further than Die Hard and Trading Places, mate.
Fair enough. Yeah, very good films. Mine's a little bit different. Maybe it's showing my maturity, but I love Elf. Also, Miracle on 34th Street as well always gets me. Fantastic movie.
Home Alone. Home Alone. Why didn't I think of Home Alone? Yeah,
Home
that's
Alone,
the best one, wasn't it?
Two.
Fully Calhoun, yeah. And you've not just got one, you've got 1, 2, 3. Did I do a fourth one with a different boy as well?
3 was, wasn't it?
What they changed it with the third one for a different actor. He started getting older. Fair enough. All right, and also I'm going to catch you off guard again here, Tom. So you better be good on your feet. If you were Santa Claus, what type of cookie would you want to be left out on Christmas Eve?
I'd go for I'd go for a brownie. Again, I'm gonna mess with the loop. I'll go for a double or triple chocolate brownie or something like that. So really sickly and warm as well. It must be warm.
Must be warm. And I imagine in your freezer you got a bit of vanilla ice cream to go with it.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, or some double cream or something. God, I'm gonna be so fat in January.
I look forward to the next time I see you selling your Golden Pages. And Pidge, what about you? What type of cookie, or change your rules completely? What would you just want from if you were Santa Claus?
Biscoff, the big ones. That's it. Just give me Biscoff. I'm fine. Or Oreo, but definitely Biscoff.
Fair play. I'd probably want. Have you seen those assorted packs of biscuits that M&S do, like the chocolate ones? Anything from there will do for me. I absolutely destroy them. I'm having the Aldi alternatives at the moment. I'm probably going through one a fortnight, which ain't good, and I started in October. So I've got a lot of running to do when Sixer-side starts up again in January. But yeah, that's all the Christmas questions now all done, which you'll be pleased to know. So we'll go straight into the worst transfers that Watford have done under the Pozzos. Pidge, I will come to you first on this one as well. What's in your top 5? There's been a lot of howlers.
Yeah, well, first one's Andre Gray, number 1. Yeah, I just think the guy, apart from that FA Cup run, he was useless. 2 fan because his love for Greggs. He was, yeah, that was one. Like I said, just on that whole one, that was the only 2 highlights: was abusing the ex-Luton keeper and abusing 2 fan. They were the highlights of that game. Apart from that, I don't remember the rest of it. Yeah, who else? Jesus, we've had so many shockers, but yeah, they're definitely me too. I'm looking at the few you got here, mate, and I can't really disagree with most of them, even though there's a few. Definitely, who's the one? Definitely Ollier, who's my 3rd Success, and definitely see Gerardo got a lot of stick, but he was excellent before he came to us. I was really excited when Gerardo signed for us because he was really talented player, but he was crap. But instead of Gerardo, I'll put Suarez.
All right, fair enough. Obviously, it's so hard to pick as well, and I don't know. Was yours more based on actual performances for Watford, or are they based on like transfer fees?
Disappointment as well. especially with Andre Gray, because I really bigged him up before he came to us. Okay, he played for the Scum, and you can't wash the blood off your hands with that one. But when he done well at, all sense of jokes aside, he done well at Luton, he done well at Burnley, he produced what we could say in his maiden season in the Premier League. And when he came to us, I went, okay, 80 million, big step, but he's got all the credentials to work, and it just didn't work out for him. At Watford, and it's just a shame. And I think breaking 2 lockdown laws as well, thing didn't really help his thing. And mentioning Blissett in the same sentence as Andre Gray didn't really go down well either, I don't think.
Fans weren't particularly keen of Andre Gray as it was, but after that interview, completely lost them. Just quickly before I come to you, Tom, U1's TV, it's run by Pete. We know he does fantastic work with Do Not Scratch Your Eyes podcast as well. He pops up with a message saying, "Hi gents, Merry Christmas and a happy 3 points. Merry Christmas, Pidge. Keep up, Pete. Keep up the fantastic work with Do Not Scratch Your Eyes. It came on leaps and bounds, and congratulations for getting on to Talk Sport as well. So keep up the good works, and love to Carl and Justin as well. So yeah, keep up the good work, guys. Tom, what's your 5 worst signings? Did you find this easy, or did you find it difficult?
You know what, Ben? I absolutely love doing this. The research behind this, it brought back some real memories. I was laughing. It's been a lovely evening for me. I've talked about the Luton game and going through a few of these name blasts from the past. Okay, right. So I've not got 5, but I'll list some names, and you can pull from that what you wish. I just want to preface this by saying that all of these, apart from one of this on my list, came from abroad, a foreign culture. There may have been a number of personal reasons why it didn't work out for them at Watford. So I don't tend to like digging players out or anything. So yeah, I'm sure there's sort of reasons in the background for poor performances, but top for me is undoubtedly Isaac's success. A monumental waste of time and money for everyone. I think it was about 18.5 million.
Club record deal
at the time. Yeah, I think he did have a couple of injuries, but yeah, I think given his price tag, goes to show what a huge mistake it was. You always heard about how he was working really hard to get back in training and getting ready for first team football, and he was ready. He was going to kick on, and he scored a fantastic glancing header. I can't remember. It was one of his first games. Who it was against at the Vic?
Bournemouth.
Was it? Yeah. And you thought, God, we've got a player here. He was only a youngster at the time as well. And then he'd get injured, and you'd spot him on Instagram doing a dance in a ridiculous outfit. I mean, it was great value for laughs on Instagram, and still is from what I've heard. But yeah, one of the biggest failures, I think, in the Pozzo network. Similarly with Obiolari, I think Pidge mentioned him earlier. It's about 7.5 million. He looked like a giraffe that got lost in the jungle. And I mean, he's been back to Belgium. I think he had a spell at Barnsley in League One, and he didn't make it there, which I think says a lot. He was young at the time, it's sort of learning his way, but that was a huge that's a bad one from the Pozzos. The English one I thought was Jerome Sinclair. Not a lot of money, 4 million from Liverpool, and we were arguably buying potential at the time. But I think we completely got suckered in by the narrative of teenager making debut for Liverpool in an FA Cup game and scoring a couple of goals, and he was just didn't do anything for us, didn't impress. And I think he had a few opportunities, but so they're the kind of big money, or say big money, the sort of £1 million transfer ones. Sorry, Bryce JJ as well. I think we got him for 4 million from Marseille. He had about 6 months with us, and then he didn't make the club's Premier League 25, and then he was mouthing off to the press about how bad we were. So that doesn't go down very well with me. And a few of the ones that were either free or loans, so I'm not sure you can count them as worse ones, but just some names that made me laugh and reminisce. Steve Leo Belek, anyone? I think he was one of the influx of foreign loan players that came in the Pozzo's first season. So he went on loan to Stevenage and didn't get a look in there, alongside the likes of Jeffrey Majangi-Bia, John Alan Fashone, and maybe Newton, although I think he did okay, to be fair. And then Dimitri Foulquier, remember him? He played at fullback. His most memorable appearance was in the 8-0 drubbing against Man City. I think he was hauled off after about half an hour, and just left me wondering why we didn't have anyone else playing in that position. Although I think he was from Granada, and I think he went back there as well, so didn't cost anything. And I'll finish on one that's a bit of a left wing choice. It's Stephen Berghaus. Right, now, hear me out. He became a very good player. He's had a great career after Watford's. He played Champions League football with Ajax. He played in the World Cup recently. I think he's 31. And I think he's captained his country, or certainly captained Ajax. Now, I don't think he was a bad signing, but I think that the way that the club dealt with him was appalling. I don't think we got the best out of him, and we were well too quick to get rid of him. He was quite young when he joined us, and he wasn't really given a chance. He needed a coach that would help him grow and someone he could learn from. And I think it just goes to show how much quality he had after he left Watford. And it was just such a shame. One of the club's possibly biggest regrets in transfer history was him, because he could have been a superstar for us, I think.
Yeah, never really given that opportunity and never really managed his potential at Watford. It was just given bench opportunities, wasn't he? And he came off a bench one time at home to Aston Villa and provided 2 assists, didn't he, for Troy Deeney, where we scored late on to come back from behind. It was a shame that he didn't really kick on at Watford, but it happens a lot at Watford. I don't think we give players enough time sometimes to adapt to English football, but hopefully we'll see a change of that soon. It's interesting that you've mentioned Isaac's success as well. I've actually listed him as well, Mr. Bailey's, I like to call him. He was front page of the Sun. Because what was it? He didn't go out with a couple of prostitutes, drank a couple of bottles of Bailey's, couldn't perform, and then they sold a story to the Sun newspaper, and it was front page.
Allegedly, I think is what you're supposed to say there, Ben, isn't it?
Allegedly. So Isaac says it was allegedly. I don't want to be sued or nothing by Isaac's success. and it's such a shame as well to see how well he's doing at Udinese as well. He's starting week in, week out for him, providing goals and assists. And it's frustrating that we never really saw that kind of player at Watford. And I don't know if you had him, but I actually had him on Snapchat. He put his Snapchat username out on social media one day, and loads of Watford fans jumped on it and added him. It was pretty boring, to be honest. It was just him dancing in his stupid gear that you've mentioned already, Tom. He just fancied himself as a dancer. I don't know, he should maybe try up for Strictly Come Dancer next year. But yeah, Isaac's success with my number one, club record fee, a lot of hype with him, a lot of expectations, a lot of potential. Didn't really hit the ground at Watford. He looked a nuisance when he came off his bench sometime. I thought he used his strength to his advantage at times. I think he came off the bench at Manchester City away one time, and he just looked really strong, and they couldn't handle him. And I thought, we have got a player in him, but he didn't kick on, and it was actually atrocious. Fantastic goal he scored against Swansea City in the Championship, though, in our last home game before we got promoted. That was a fantastic finish. But apart from that, didn't really deliver at Watford. My second one would actually be another guy who's came over from Granada, and it would be Panoranda. Spent so much money on him again. Watford keep doing this. They spend so much money on a young guy they see a lot of potential with, and they just, again, maybe falls in the same situation as Berghaus, Tom, where not really given the opportunity to show he's good enough for Watford. Ended up being sent on loan for numerous seasons, season after season, not delivering at the loan club, coming back to Watford, having a pre-season, realising he's not good enough again, and being sent out again. And it looks like is he still contracted with a club? Is he in his final year? Do you know?
Possibly, yeah. I think he won't be coming back to Hertfordshire anytime soon, apart from to pick up his laundry,
Yeah.
I think. But yeah, well, I think with him and Berghaus and a number of others, and a number that sorry to butt in again, but Lucas Neal was another one. Made one appearance at the club, although he was pretty low risk. You do have to wonder about like the club strategy. There just doesn't seem to be any. Seem to be a real scattergun approach to signings, and it's a bit worried. Like, why don't they do any research on the player's personality? That's something like that's big in the NFL and other American sports in particular. You think, well, have they got the mentality? Surely that's got to be, as well as the physical attributes, that's got to be right up there with things that are very important. And yeah, players like success and the number of others that we mentioned there, it just goes to show you need that, really.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben, jump in.
No problem at all. And my final couple is Mario Suarez from Fiorentina. Seemed like the transfer was going on for ages, for rumours, and it just went on for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then it was finally announced that he was joining Watford. Former Valencia midfielder, played in the Champions League, represented Spain at national level. And he just really flopped. I don't know if it was a case of him not adjusting to the English game or having issues in his personal life, but spending £5 million on him, he just didn't look like he looked comfortable playing over in England. Obiule, his one I put down, about £6-7 million we spent on him. Another young guy from Belgium, didn't deliver. And then my final one, I know no one else has done loan players, but I can't look any further past him. It's Matthew Briggs. I think he's one of the worst players I've ever seen represent Watford. Just an awful players, and it just shows how awful he was, because after he had his loan spell at Watford, he went back to Fulham and he did absolutely nothing. I think a year or two later he was playing non-league football or semi-pro football. He really just wasn't cut out for it, and it's probably an example of getting to a level so early and so quick. I think he was the youngest ever Premier League player for Fulham, or a Premier League player altogether, at 16. He made his debut in the Premier League, so there's a lot of hype on his shoulders straight away. And maybe it was a mentality thing that he just couldn't cope with it. But yeah, he was one of my worst players I've ever seen. But yeah, boys,
without him, we wouldn't have had some of the precious playoff moments in the semi-final, would we?
Yeah, no, that is definitely true. He helped assist knockout for that penalty. He let him pass, and then Cassetti pulled him down, didn't he? It was so light of him to let knockout run past him. But fantastic game that Leicester game is as well. Goosebumps just thinking about it. But other players we could have maybe thought out. I know Mike definitely would have put him in. Alexander Merkel from Udinese, loan signing. Juan Fran from Real Betis. Many Watford fans might not know who he was, but we signed him in 2014-15 seasons, and he was on our books for about 4 seasons, and we paid £1 million for him. But he never actually kicked a football at Watford. So yeah, he's up there. Jerome Sinclair, which you've already listed. Another name that Watford fans might not know, Sven Combs. We signed him for about £5-6 million from Ghent over in Belgium. Again, never kicked a football for Watford Football Club. Mr. Uncle Ron's favourite, Pozzo, Udinese. I don't think I put him down as a worst signing due to his commitment for Watford and his playing ability. It's got to be for the transfer fee alone. 8.5 million for a guy who maybe played 4 or 5 games for Watford and then never came back since. Glenn Murray, free transfer. No, he's coming towards the end of his career, but again, who thinks of these transfers thinking he's a right fit for Watford Football Club? He can leave a line. He can replace Troy Deeney. No, he can't. He can't run. And then Ozan Tufan I had listed as well. But yeah, boys, thank you so much for joining me tonight and helping me out. Really do appreciate it. I hope you both enjoyed it.
Yeah, really good, mate. Thank you very much for having me on.
No
Yeah,
worries.
thanks, Ben. Yeah, it's been cracking. Really brought a smile to my face, and I hope it has to the people watching and listening too.
Yeah, well, it's my Christmas present to you guys, so I don't actually have to buy you something now. So yeah, this is my gift to you. So thank you for helping me out tonight. But yeah, thank you so much for everyone who's watched and listened. Thank you for your continued support during 2022. Me and Mike really do appreciate it. And we wish you all the best for 2023. Merry Christmas from all of us here at Voices of the Vic. Hope you have a fantastic one. We'll be back soon, hopefully to do a review of a Millwall game on Boxing Day, but we'll keep you posted with that. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit that like button and that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. And stay safe and come on, you Orns.